I've played plenty of games throughout my life to the no shock of everyone who knows me, and the more I got invested in the medium as I grew older, the more I started using games for other means other than entertainment, like killing time with Ridge Racer or Tetris, to coping with overwhelming emotions like Valhalla or Rainbow Six Siege. The many circumstances extend themselves, and upon realizing this, it made me think of the many games that have had some significant impact on my life on both a personal and emotional level. The first Max Payne was the game that really got me interested in how games are made, because of its unique writing style, how experimental it was with its gameplay like bullet time and shoot dodge, to the presentation, like the comic book style cutscenes and the fourth wall breaking moments, but truly at heart I'm a gameplay first person. English not being my first language growing up meant that the only form of communication I had with games was through the gameplay, and with the little support for Portuguese localization we had back then, I would either swap to Spanish, as both Latin language are similar to the Deuce at that age, or I would just go in blind not really knowing what I was pressing in on the menus and pray that it would take me straight to gameplay. 9 times out of 10, I was still able to enjoy games that were less narrative led and more gameplay driven, like platformers, racing games, fighting games, and the Grand Theft Auto games, funnily enough. But when it came to RPGs or anything similar that required you to use critical thinking, those were no-nos for me. So a big reason why I specifically pursued game design is because of the deep connection I have with the physical act of your inputs translating into actions on screen. It is what makes this medium so unique. Which makes Hellblade so interesting to me because for the common eye it looks like a walking simulator with puzzles and combat to add some spice, but for me, what makes this game special is its developer, Ninja Theory. I've been following Ninja Theory since Enslaved Odyssey to the West. I remember my cousin showing me the demo on his PS3 and I was instantly grabbed by the combat because that was usually the first thing I would gravitate towards. Furthermore, I didn't have any money to buy the game, nor was it being sold in my country, just of how niche it was. So I watched playthroughs until I found this neat thing called piracy, y'all heard about it? Which led me to play the game and I really enjoyed my time with it. Afterwards came the much maligned DMC reboot, which, as disgusting as the writing and developer promotion around it was at the time, I really loved DMC for one, being my first introduction to the series, which led me to play the other ones, and two, the combat is very flashy, crackhead coded, and very accessible for newcomers looking back. That game for me cemented a new passion for Ninja Theory, which brings us to Hellblade and how seismical that shift was, not just for the game itself but for the developer as well. An element that stood out at first is how much different it is to their previous games, where the grandiosity and scale of the production values is reduced to something more singular, intimate, and close. And second, which is the best decision they've ever made in my opinion, is documenting the entire development process from start to finish on this large endeavor they call Indie AAA, a game of AAA production values made by a small team, in their case 20 people or so. And believe me when I tell you I was locked in from the very beginning. From 2014 to 2017 they will drop exactly 30 videos detailing certain aspects of the development, like the announcement, the combat system, the binaural audio approach, the character scanning, the music. It was one of the most magical things I've got to witness in real time, and if you can picture 12-15-year-old me with an interest in game development following every single episode, you'd assume I was in bliss, which I really was, I can't lie. Getting to follow how they use their meeting room as a DIY performance capture studio.
We don't have space in our studio for shooting, so we cleared out our largest meeting room, and to mount the Bonita cameras, we bought some cheap wardrobe posts from IKEA, which did the job nicely. We did some tests and the body data we got back were easily as good as anything we've ever captured before. So we moved on to our next challenge, which is how do you capture the face?
The binaural audio test they did by walking through a car park, capturing audio as it came through.
I'm here with Tamim, and I think it's fair to say that our tests so far have gone really well. And this is actually really quite an exciting step for us in terms of audio. When you look at some of the lived experiences that people have talked about, when they first have these experiences, there is an inclination to turn around and see where that voice has come from.
For everyone it's different. I mean, some people hear the voice as if it's coming from within their head, and so part of the test we'll do is to see if we can make a voice sound like it is coming from within your head.
And how they use photogrammetry to capture Melina Juergen's face for Senua.
In previous dev diaries, we covered how we used a combination of photogrammetry to capture Melina's facial expressions. We also built a prototype device that we called the Plant Pot to try to capture minute skin details.
When Hugh joined the team, he wanted to push for a far higher degree of realism in Senua's face and her expressions. And to achieve this, he suggested we go and visit a company called 3Lateral out in Serbia. And this is a company that specializes in extremely high resolution 3D scanning of people's faces and subsequently creating character rigs so that we could use that in real time.
Getting into the scanner felt like entering a giant spaceship, like you were really cut off from the outside world, and the only way to communicate with everyone else was over Skype.
Eyes closed, and here we go.
These tidbits of game dev trivia were novel for me at the time, and similar to the creative decisions Remedy took to get the first Max Payne done, it really showed me that game development isn't as mysterious or mystical as one would think given all the surrounding secrecy. Heck, I used to think if I could change the Vice City minimap JPEG to my hometown, I could play my neighborhood, which goes to show how ridiculous and funny the idea sounds now that we know so much. But through sheer curiosity of just casually looking up game dev tools and tutorials and what have you online, this docu-series was the first time that made me ponder, I could do that too. And the following years consciously prepared me to take the necessary steps to be where I'm at today, even when it looks like the industry is about to crash at any moment due to the many layoffs and cost-cutting measures going around the big studios. Take this vertical slice for example, where my wee little comment from 8 years ago using my very little vocabulary to say the game is cool. You would never see something like this posted nowadays by major studios, as it can create false expectations or narratives to downplay the potential of the game itself. But if you compare this to the final game, they are vastly different in the way it's presented, but the core mechanics are still present, which speaks highly of Ninja Theory's confidence to just put out behind the scenes footage like this. As for the game itself, it's been really interesting witnessing the reception before release, after release, and how it's been discussed years later. I think we can wholeheartedly agree that this is one of the best depictions of psychosis and mental health in any media, especially with how innovative the usage of binaural audio is with the fury Senua's experiences constantly. At first, I really didn't get the story because my brain wasn't as fully developed as it is now, and my tastes weren't as sharp. But this replay unlocked a new level of appreciation I never had before, similar to God of War 2018. It's the style of storytelling where, while you have the main goal to look forward to, release the soul of your lover from Hela, in the in-between moments the game dissects Senua, the type of character she is, her relationships, her hardships as a Celtic warrior and as a woman with a disability, and how those strings of past events culminate to the path she's embarking now, which is very compelling. Whereas gameplay is a different story. I fully sympathize with people who can't get with a gameplay because, at its core, it is mostly an adventure game where you walk from A to B, completing puzzles, unlocking lore and story beats, and you're occasionally put into combat scenarios, which is why I say mostly adventure, as the action itself has enough depth from a developer with experience in that genre that it never feels basic or archaic unless you're just spamming light attacks. It was also very eye-opening for me to witness a combat system like this, because back then, flashy character action combat was to me the end-all be-all for action games. But seeing something much slower paced with weight, prioritizing position, and deliberately considering your next moves is something that you would usually expect from a Souls game, yet here it's used to accentuate the claustrophobia of these encounters, as Senua has to face more than 2 opponents at a time. There's also a hidden combo system the game doesn't explain you, which allows you to combine light and heavy attacks that either extend or unlock new sequences, and from there you can springboard and add more on top, which gives you some room to work with if you want variety in how you want to strategize each encounter. Complexity within simplicity, as I like to call it. As the years have gone by, I've been using Hellblade as a source of fuel to light my passion for making games, and it's been one hell of a journey, especially for me as an African whose odds are stacked way higher that it's really unfair. When I finished high school in 2019, I went abroad to study game design for 3 years, and it's been intense, but the good kind, where I learned so much that most of what I talked about in this channel, which is mainly game design, is thanks to this accumulated knowledge I already have, and I feel the need to share with others who also have any interest on it, as back in the day, technical conversations like this were difficult to come by casually, much less understandable because of high concept terms the general audiences are not aware of. If you're curious as to the types of games I've made so far, well, you can check them out on my itch.io page, which I'll leave a link in the description, or you can just type frankensama.itch.io and it'll show you the results. I have to point out that what I've made so far are prototypes, developed in a span of 3 to 5 months, meaning that while the presentation isn't up to the standards I would love them to be just due to how little spare time I have nowadays, mechanically they are very complete, as they can be played from start to finish, and I hope they can accurately communicate the idea behind them and some of the thought processes that I went when making them. And if there's anything you want to say after playing them, then go ahead and drop it in the comment section, as I would love to hear them. As for me, I clearly have a long way to go to be at a professional level I would like to reach, but for now, I really like where I'm going and I'm hopeful to remain consistent and truly hone my craft. So, having said all of this, you may find surprising when I tell you that given how I've been very connected as a fan following the development of the first game, this time around I decided to go on a media blackout and experience the game as is when it comes out, having only seen the trailers shown at showcases and the first 2 dev diaries where they go to Iceland for scouting, and the second where they discuss the improvements made to their performance capture pipeline. But other than that, I've ignored everything else with the hopes of being just as amazed as I was the first time around without knowing what it took to get there. And after I'm done, I'll be sure to watch everything I've missed, as these styles of videos are very rare and non-occurring in this industry. By the time you're watching this, I'm most likely playing the game or getting ready, enjoying it, I hope, and I'm probably looking for an interesting angle to discuss it, or even just sharing my overall thoughts as is when I beat it should be enough. So, as the Japanese say, please look forward to it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends and activate the bell so you can get notification of my latest videos, and thank you for watching.